All right, welcome everybody. I've got to keep my eye on the waiting room. This is set up so you have to be admitted. So while I'm doing that, why don't we go around and quickly introduce ourselves? And we can start with Leah, who's going to be speaking today. She's the director of Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. Go ahead, Leah.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. Leah Wiste here from Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. And I have a pretty bad cold, but hopefully my voice will last for the next 20 minutes or so.
All right. Looks like you have a jack shirt on, lumberjack shirt. All right.
Just what every lady likes to hear, Murray. Thanks.
All right. Let's see. Uh, Alan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Alan Veda from St. Aid's Episcopal Church. We're part of Northside Associate Ministries, so we share our building with Northside Presbyterian Church up on Broadway, northeast corner of Ann Arbor.
All right, thanks, Alan. Janaba?
Geneva. I'm Geneva Waggy. I'm the associate pastor at Ann Arbor First UMC, right on State Street.
All right, great. And Ed?
Ed Lynn, I'm with the First UU Congregation of Ann Arbor.
Right, and he has both solar and wind power. All right.
And we're getting more.
And you're getting more. Great. Sandy?
I'm also from the First UU Congregation of Ann Arbor and on the climate team there along with Ed.
All right, nice. And Ben?
Hi there. I'm the Ann Arbor 2030 representative. I'm an AmeriCorps worker for them.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Anybody else in the waiting room? I don't see anybody. All right, so let's get started. Today we're going to hear from Leah. I'm not sure how long that will go, but then after that, if there's any time left, I will speak on a presentation I gave this last weekend at a conference called Adama. So go ahead, Leah.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for having me. So Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, some of you have worked with us before or maybe heard of us, but we've been around for about 20 years in Michigan. We're connected with the National Interfaith Power and Light Network, which was founded as a religious response to global warming. And so we think of our work today as being about addressing the climate crisis from a place of faith and conscience and drawing from our wisdom traditions and organizing faith communities to do it. Just kind of as a way of framing how we see climate action, I'm going to share, can I share my screen? Looks like I can, yeah. I'm going to share this three-legged stool visual, which if you've been to any Michigan IPL events might look familiar, or any workshops. But so this is how we think about climate action, right? First leg of the stool, practical sustainable actions, right? Which is kind of where most folks start. They think about, how can I save energy? How can I shift to renewable energy, right? Live in ways, whether it's at home or within my congregation, that are in line with my values for caring for the web of life. But these other two legs of the stool are also important, and often congregations kind of need support in understanding and taking action in these areas, right? So we think about the need to change systems. So in this moment in 2023, it should be pretty apparent to all of us that we are not going to recycle or save energy our way out of a climate crisis, right? We need to transform the systems that have brought about the crisis. So that means speaking truth to power. That means working with our elected officials to ensure that they are not passing policies that continue to exacerbate the destruction of our planet, right? could include voting. We do this from a nonpartisan perspective. So we don't ever endorse candidates, but we do seek to hold them accountable. And we do advocate for legislation and changing systems. And the third part is spiritual and relational change. So this is, how are we relating to the web of life, right? What does it do to our spirits if we adopt a posture of being a citizen of, our region, right? Not just of our nation state, but of our region. How can I repair relations with my neighbors or with communities of people who are different from me, who have borne the brunt of pollution disproportionately and unjustly, right? Those kinds of things. So that's kind of just a look at our approach and things that we always encourage congregations who are participating in our work to do, to take action in these domains. Murray asked me to share a couple of programs, and there's one that I'm really excited to share about because we have some funding to work with Ann Arbor congregations on it. I'm going to put a link in the chat. But a few years ago, we were collaborating with some of the other IPL state chapters about an initiative to host climate conversations in faith communities. So it's a facilitated conversation to get folks talking, learning, deepening their knowledge about climate, but also talking about climate from the perspective of their hearts and their experiences. So what seems to be true is a lot of folks engage with climate from the perspective of kind of facts and data points, right? And all of that is important, but also it takes a heavy emotional toll, right? And some groups don't want to approach it at all because it's so hard. It brings up grief and anxiety and guilt and shame and all of these things. So this is a way that we talk about climate that kind of honors all of the challenging feelings that can come up. And then we have some resources to actually give congregations to do projects. And then we will coach them through the duration of their project. So this is something that's available for Ann Arbor congregations. Let me also put my email in the chat. You can reach out to me directly about it if your congregation would like to participate. So again, like this would be someone from Michigan IPL facilitates a conversation that maybe deepens your engagement with climate work, or maybe it sparks something if that's new for your congregation. I know some of you are veterans and have been doing this, forever, of course. But then just a way for us to kind of keep in touch and support you, right? Support the things that your congregation is naturally excited about. And then Murray's going to talk about Solar Faithful. We also have another solar initiative that we're doing right now called Solar Solidarity. And this is a way of breaking down barriers of access for BIPOC congregations, so Black, Indigenous, people of color congregations, low wealth congregations who otherwise would not have they don't have the internal resources to raise $50,000 for a solar array. So this is a way for us to ask our supporters, hey, do you have $5,000? You want a loan? And we do a low interest loan. Michigan IPL pulls together the financing and the congregation gets to install solar and benefit and save money from the get-go. So we just actually, the construction has begun and it's almost complete at our pilot project at Lord of Lords Missionary Baptist Church in Detroit. Was installed by Homeland Solar. Of course, Dave Friedrichs, many of you know him. I'm sure maybe everybody knows Dave Friedrichs, but he was, I think, maybe a founding board member of Michigan IPL or a longtime involvement. So this is the picture of their array that just went up this week. And so this was a way for some of our supporters, with some resources, who were interested in climate justice, interested in racial justice, and wanted to use some of their dollars to take action close to home. So those are the two programs I want to highlight, maybe of interest to you. I think my voice is not going to hold out much longer, but I can field a few questions.
Leah, is that solar access on your website there? I'm just looking at your website and I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't have Solar Solidarity on my website yet. I can share with you a slide deck. Let me grab that link. We kind of, because this was a pilot, although we hope to do a second project this year and more going forward, because this was a pilot, we
It was a pilot.
yeah, it was a pilot.
But it was a pilot. Okay. That's fully understandable. Okay.
Yeah, but let me grab that link.
Okay.
And now that we have panels installed, we've finally got some pictures and can start telling that story. Murray attended some of our meetings at the end of the summer when we were kind of introducing this concept to prospective investors. So he might also be willing to share his impressions. Or
Yeah, maybe
well,
I could save Leah's voice for a second.
yeah,
So so there were about, I don't know, between a dozen and 15 people who are interested in helping out the Lord of the Lords. And actually, I met the Lord of the Lords pastor at, I think it was a Michigan Interfaith Power and Light event a few years before the pandemic. And he was really, Pastor Glass,
Pastor Glass, yeah.
right? And he was really excited about we talked, I had a breakout for about 45 minutes on solar. He was really excited about getting solar. And I'm really happy that he's starting his install, or it's almost finished. So that's great. And so what these meetings were last summer was, we just, first of all, we had to decide how we were going to fund it, and Pastor Glass wanted to own the systems. So the only way to really do that, since it's a low income area, was for investors to come in, kind of like the Genesis model, and he didn't want to set up an LLC, so it was a loan. And so several of the people on the call, they invested several $1,000s each, and you can see what happens. He will be paying the loan back via paying for the power that his solar is generating. It's a great opportunity, and it's great that Michigan Interfaith Power and Light set this up. So I'm real happy for Pastor Glass.
So these are individual investors, not congregations or organizations or anything, but people.
Yeah, so the folks who signed up are individuals, but I think, going forward, it could be totally possible that a congregation decides, oh, we want a $5,000 share, right? And we can definitely do it that way. And I think that would be a great way for a certain type of congregation to get involved.
and how much did that cost? The array you just showed.
Yeah, the array
Wow.
that you saw was 31,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we did some fundraising so that Lord of Lords would be like, they have a share that's worth, $6,100 or something like that, and then 5 other lenders have a $5,000 share each.
Yeah, and they'll get back the 30% from the government. Okay. So,
Yeah, we're hoping it will be 40% actually
Okay.
because they're located in a low income area.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. The second thing, Leah, I know this might be complicated, but you say you're connected to the national. How, just for fundraising purposes,
Yeah.
does the national support you or you support the national, or are you both independent?
Yeah, we work pretty independently.
Okay.
So, you know, they convene a national conference and we all kind of come together for
Right.
like fellowship and learning and getting aligned.
Mhm.
But they don't support us financially except unless they have like a specific initiative and they want to work with us on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I got the slide deck up, so okay,
Yeah.
good. No, this is
All right, any other questions?
interesting.
So
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm curious, to take this in a different direction, just about some of the spaces in between the programs that I see. That so Solar Solidarity seems to be, or I'm not entirely sure where in Detroit Lord of Lords is, but it seems like they had the space to go out it. Um, and that some of the other things in terms of like the classes for education or the sacred spaces for energy efficiency or something are marvelous. He, at at my particular church, we can't go out because we're downtown. The university is everywhere,
Yeah.
and also it's a 200-year-old building, so like there's only so much energy efficiency we can do. So
Yeah.
is that a conversation that IPL has had about what it is to take older buildings that can only be modified so much, or is that something that like there's a contracting out to this company knows how to do energy changes or whatever?
Yeah.
Does that fall under your umbrella, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, so I would say like we work mostly as like a connector, right? So we don't have like engineering expertise or historical preservation expertise, but we probably have a bunch of congregations in our network who, like you, have got an old historic building and they're figuring out like, yeah, how do we work with this, right? Yeah. But I would say also like one of the things that excites me about solar solidarity is that I think a lot of congregations, you know, and it makes sense, you start with your space, right? That's what you've got control over it, you have access to it. Sometimes maybe that doesn't make sense because like you've got a really tricky site and you don't have a field you can put solar panels on or geothermal or something like that, right? So what if you could invest in solar on a different site, right? And it benefits a community, you know, it's an action for racial equity and climate justice at the same time. So in some cases you might want to see what can you do elsewhere, or maybe congregants' homes are what you want to focus on, right?
Geneva, just a stray thought that this went to my mind, and I only say this because I lived in Tower Plaza for about 10 years, and I was on the northeast corner, so I look right down on on your church, the whole site there. But you alone, or you with the Baptist church next to you, you've got the Washington Street parking structure across, and they've got that whole top deck there. And if you went to the city and said, we would like to put a solar array over that top deck, which will save you from snow plowing, and I don't think there's anything that would shade that. No, it couldn't be, because I could see it from Tower Plaza. You've got a lot of space there where you could put up one mighty solar array and just run the wire across the road.
There may be legal issues to that, but
Well,
it's
and
just
one
an
of
idea.
no, that's a great thing of partnering with the city.
Mhm.
We're doing a lot of business or building conversations right now for our own purposes, but also because there's I'm pointing because it's on that side of the building. There is a 19-story something going up, the legacy
Right. Yep.
apartment.
Oh, yeah.
So like some of it is we're still figuring out how that's going to change the landscape of this block. because they keep shifting around what what that's doing to us. So
Mhm.
putting us in perpetual darkness for one thing. But
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
All right, so I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
Is everybody's here House of Worship a member of Michigan Interfaith Power and Light? Mine is Genesis.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, Leah, could you tell them how to join?
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, so we have a membership covenant. And I'm going to pull it up and put the link in the chat. And so the membership is for congregations. And basically, it's a commitment of the Spirit. And if the congregation, kind of agrees, yes, we want to bring caring for our climate into our congregational life, we're going to take some sustainable actions. We're going to include this in our religious teachings or in our worship in some way. And we're going to discern like when to use our moral voices to speak out on issues. And we're going to support the work of Michigan IPL by participating or making a gift, or membership doesn't cost anything, but of course, that's one way that you can participate. Then you get to be a member. And so you can read the covenant and sign up on our website.
And does that last forever? I mean, I think we're still members, but I don't really know.
Yeah. At the moment, our practice is, yes, you sign up for membership and you are then a member. I think it would be good to have some kind of ongoing, hey, do you still know who we are? Sometimes the contact person signs up and then you lose track. But right now, yes, you sign the covenant and you are a member.
We'll check that.
Yeah.
By the way, Dave.
I think we checked a while back, but
Dave Friedrichs is a member of our congregation, so that's Homeland Solar.
Yes.
He's going to put 107 kilowatts on our roof next month.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah.
So given that we are geographically neither Southwest Michigan nor the capital area, is part of this your hope of creating a third chapter, or is this is my conglomeration of connected congregations?
Yeah, that's a good question. So these chapters really kind of occurred very organically, not because Michigan IPL staff tried to make them happen, right? So we are looking for a way to get some resources to learn from those chapters, to understand what they did, how they did it, kind of create a structure that would say, hey, oh, you're a group of congregations in whatever geography. Do you want to be a chapter? Well, here's how you do it, right? So we're kind of on that journey now. But if there is interest in that, I think that is that's something that I am really excited about. I think it's a really important way that we can build power to make change, is by working together across institutions. Yeah.
Where are your chapters now?
Yeah, in the Lansing area and in Kalamazoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Leah?
yeah, actually, I'd like to hear a little more about the climate conversations that you've had, what they look like. Our congregation has been doing climate for a long time, but would sort of like to reinvigorate things. We have a big year coming up where we want to try for zero carbon and zero waste, and we want to get people behind it. So I'm curious about maybe a conversation or something might help that.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to share my screen again. So the hope with the climate conversation is that it invites people to connect to the issue from the place of their values, from the place of their hearts, right? So not only with their heads. I think a lot of us are really good at connecting with the issue of climate and making changes with our heads, but the goal is to kind of try to engage us more holistically. And This is this Venn diagram is kind of the basis for supporting congregations to take action. So if the text may be a little bit small, but basically we try to find this intersection between what brings you joy collectively as a congregation. What are you good at? Like maybe you're really good at feeding people, right? Or maybe you're really good at engaging youth and getting them excited, whatever that is. And then third, what work needs doing. And so that might be a rethinking, right, of what work needs doing. Maybe your congregation has, like, with First UU, I know you have a long track record of taking so many sustainable actions in your facility, right? And so what else needs doing, or what are different ways that could look? So we kind of use this as a guide. And we try to use it as a way to engage head, hearts, and hands, right? Yeah. And then, but the idea is we will also kind of support you along the way, sort of. You will kind of bring together your group, you will meet regularly, and Michigan IPL for ongoing support. If you get stuck, if you need resources, if you need an introduction to some other congregation who's done a specific thing, right? And so a lot of the supports are there, I think, for congregations for whom this is new. So I haven't yet done this with a congregation, like First UU, that's very experienced, right? But I think we could figure out like what would First UU, for example, need or want out of this kind of process, and maybe just offering some accountability and structure would be a helpful, supportive thing. But we could certainly talk about it. Does that answer your question, Sandy?
Yes, thank you.
All right, anything else for Leah? All right, well, before we get into my presentation, our congregation, Temple Beth Emes, is having a climate action Shabbat this Friday. And I'm going to be one of the participants. So I thought I would read my prayer that I wrote. All right, let me get it up here. So here we go. Limiting shoulds. I should mourn for the changes in our climate that affect me and others. I should not use plastics. I should support that climate bill by writing my congressperson. I should join Dayenu, which is the Jewish climate organization. I should find out more about the A20 program. I should get solar panels for my home. I should get an electric car. I should travel by air less. I should change what I eat to reduce my carbon footprint. I should recycle. I should go to that rally in Lansing to fight climate volatility legislation. I should donate to organizations that fight climate change. To reduce my carbon footprint, I should do this and I should do that. I end up shooting all over myself. I feel overwhelmed. It's okay to not do all of these shoulds. I will pick something to do and focus on that. I will accomplish it or make it a habit. Then I can pick another should to work on. Forgive yourself for not doing all the shoulds right away. Stare into your own eyes as you gaze in the mirror. Tell yourself that you are forgiven. For now, I can only commit to doing a should or two. Our community forgives you. God forgives you. I should do what I can, but not more. That is okay.
That was lovely, Murray. Thank you for that.
Right.
You,
So
neg-
now,
you neglected to mention that you should join the local House of Worship 2030 in Hubbard District.
right. There's all kinds of shoulds.
I know.
I end up doing shoulds for climate change just about every day.
Mhm.
I'm going to go, everybody. It was
All
really
right.
nice to be with you.
So, hope you're feeling better. Thank you very much.
Get better.
I will. Great.
Thanks, Leah. All right. So as I mentioned at the start of the meeting, this past Sunday, There was a conference in Detroit at the DNR Outdoor Adventure Center, which is actually indoors. It's a museum, and it's right on the river, and a great venue. It's a nice place to visit, especially for kids. They have displays on, things you'd see in Michigan, natural resources. And it's a learning experience museum. Anyways, the conference was at this museum in their conference rooms, and there were about 50 attendees. And this was put on by Adama, which is the Jewish response to climate change. And Dayenu is a part of that. So I was asked to speak on financing solar. And I know some of you have heard the Genesis story before, but this would be a good chance to review it. Not everybody's heard it, so let me share my screen and put up my PowerPoint. All right, can we see that?
Yep.
All right. So how do I see it?
Full screen.
Yeah, I think I have to. Start there. I get all these pop-up windows. Here we go. There we go. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. Enough solar energy reaches the Earth every hour to power all of the world's energy needs for an entire year. It's up to us to harness that power. The good news is the cost of solar cells has been going down exponentially since they were first introduced. And by the way, I don't have a chart for it, but the efficiency of solar panels has also increased exponentially since they were first introduced. Sunshine is free, and so can solar panels be free for your house of worship or nonprofit. I'm supposed to be talking about ways to finance this stuff, but hey, here's two examples during my talk where they're free. So that great American patriot, Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, he said, somebody has to do something, and it's just incredibly pathetic that it has to be us. So the big why are we doing this? Well, global warming. We want to reduce the carbon footprint of our buildings. A nice dividend to that is we're probably going to save a little money doing it. We're going to increase our property value. And everybody asks payback for solar. What's the payback? How long do I have to wait before I recoup my investment? Well, nobody asks that question for our food pantry that we have at Genesis. We feed 70 families every week. There's no payback, but we do it anyways because it's the right thing to do. So there's lots of ways to finance solar and other energy improvements. Cash on hand, capital campaign, loan, donations, or using the investor model, which I'm going to talk about next. But I would recommend that first one. If you have the cash or you can raise it, buy the solar panels yourself. That way you don't have to pay anything for the solar power you generate. These other models, you either have to pay back on the loan or pay back the investors. And you're not getting your full bang for their buck because they have fees and they're essentially charging you that. So buy it yourself if you have the cash on hand. Another piece of good news besides the efficiency and cost of solar is the Inflation Reduction Act. The 30% federal tax credit, it's called the investment tax credit, is now available directly to nonprofits as of this year. And I think some people are starting to apply for that. So that's great news. And that's why these models can offer solar for free to you. One of the big reasons is that 30% tax credit, because we're going to take it. Not unless you invest the money yourself. So free solar, two ways I'm going to talk about. the investor model, and solar faithful. Okay, the investor model was used by my home congregation, Genesis of Ann Arbor. So once upon a time, Genesis of Ann Arbor, it's an equal partnership between St. Clair's Episcopal Church and Temple Beth Emeth. We use the building Friday night and Saturday, and the St. Clair's uses it on Sunday. And by the way, that Genesis partnership will be 50 years old next year, and we are having some big celebrations next year, 2024. So both congregations maintain their separate identities of worship, but we have several beliefs in common, and we do a lot of social events together. Also, a third congregation, Blue Ocean Faith, rents our social hall, and there's a member here, Tim, who's a member of Blue Ocean Faith at this Zoom. And we also have the Ann Arbor Children's House uses our building during the week. So 4-in-1 saves energy right there. So the more activity you can get in your building instead of building another building for the other congregation, that will save energy. So this is our installation. We have 80 panels on the social hall roof in the front, white roof. We have another 80 on the south facing side of the slanted roof over our office building. 400 watts per panel. It was estimated in our quote from Homeland Solar that 31% of our consumed power would be generated by solar. And the first year, it turned out 30.7. They were pretty close. Went live February 2020. And I think like Ed, a lot of us with solar panels, we have this app. We can actually see what we're saving, how many trees, how many hundred thousands of pounds of CO2. And as you can see by the graph, we get a lot more generation in the summer, where the angle of the sun is a lot better, days are longer, and less cloudy. And less energy is being generated during the winter months. Actually, this November has been pretty sunny. So we're good. All right. So to purchase the panels, and the system cost $120K, we formed an LLC because we couldn't take advantage of that tax credit because houses of worship and nonprofits don't pay taxes. So Eastover Power LLC was formed, bought the panels and paid for the installation. The Eastover Power still owns the panels, and they get income from the solar from Genesis, who are paying for the electricity generated to Eastover and DTE. The investors got a 30% tax credit on their 2020 taxes. And the rate, boy, I got to let my dog in. She's barking. 1 second. All right. All right, so they got a 30% tax credit, and the 11.5 cents that Eastover is charging Genesis per kilowatt hour is currently a bargain because DTE has raised their rate to 14.6 cents per kilowatt hour currently. At the beginning in 2020, the difference was only like a penny. They were charging about 12.5 cents, but DTE raises their rates regularly. Okay, so for the investor model, we had 20 congregants formed Eastover Power, about 10 from each congregation. And they each invested between $5,000 and $15,000. Here's another Google Maps picture of Genesis, and you can see that Genesis is located on the corner of Packard Street and Eastover Place. Now, you would think we named Eastover Power after Eastover Place, but no, it's a contraction of our spring holidays at Genesis. So this is the primary table in our power purchase agreement between Eastover and Genesis, and it shows that that kilowatt hour rate is remaining steady for 20 years. At that point, the panels will be fully depreciated. Eastover Power takes the depreciation on their taxes. And you can see the right-hand column of that chart, the SLB amount. That's how much Genesis can buy back the system for. At year 6, we have to maintain the ownership with Eastover for 5 years to justify that tax credit the government requires then. Genesis is not the only house of worship / nonprofit in Southeast Michigan that has used this model, and we were not the first. There are 7 others, total of 534 solar panels, 440K investment using that investor model. Can still be used even though the tax credit is available. If you have congregants with deep pockets, or you can ask Bill Gates to loan you the money. Hey, you can do it this way. We just talked to Leah at Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, and on their website, that third point, there's a bullet point, there's a guide on how we did it with Genesis, and a simple 18-step program, only 18 steps. But it can be done. So the second way to get free solar. A new nonprofit has formed in Michigan. It's called Solar Faithful. We used to have Solar Faithful Ann Arbor, which was a volunteer organization, but we borrowed the name for our new nonprofit. It's officially a 501c3 company, and I am president of the board of directors for this organization. Solar Faithful is supported by many different organizations, including Leah and Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, but also the Climate Witness Project, another nonprofit, Chart House Energy, which is an installer in Western Michigan, World Renew, and let's see, that is, they're hiding. Sunwell. I'm sorry, Sunwell. So we like to concentrate first with the BIPOC, as Leah mentioned, the low-income congregations, but we will do this for any congregation currently. So we just help the faith-based buildings get solar for free. All right, we have 3 different options, Solar Faithful. One is very similar to the investor model, which I just talked about. That's that third bullet point, congregant investment. If you have congregants who want to do this, you don't have to set up the LLC anymore. Solar Faithful will do that for you. Oops, sorry about that. And they will do all the paperwork and all the governing for you. So you don't have to worry about anything except getting the congregants to invest. Direct purchase, we can help you with direct purchase if you need help. Probably you don't, you just, hey, call up Homeland Solar and they'll get you started if you have the money or you want to borrow the money. But what we really focus on is that power purchase agreement. And what Solar Faithful does is they use money from Sun Wealth, which is a for-profit company. We buy the system and we install it on your roof. And all you have to do is sign that power purchase agreement with Solar Faithful. Sun Wealth will own the panels. They'll be donated at the end of 25 years. And you will only pay 90% of what you pay to your current utility. You have to agree to use the solar power generated, but you will get a 10% discount from what you're currently and in the future paying to your utility. So this is really a no-brainer. I mean, just have your lawyers look it over. Look over the PPA contract, and you can have solar in your roof for not costing you a nickel up front. So here's a map of houses of worship that have solar in Michigan. And you can see there are 6 yellow dots. Those are new solar installs via Solar Faithful that were done just in the last year. And we've got 3 more planned, including one in the Detroit area. Just last week, the Christian Reformed Church of Michigan has committed to getting solar installations via Solar Faithful on all of their buildings, over 100 buildings. So this is not just a flash in the pan thing. This is happening. And you can sign up too. These are just the 6 that have it already and the ones that are committed. So solar gives us hope. And, you know, the Genesis solar array was not the first solar system that was free. If you look in the first line of the Bible, God created our solar system, and it's up to us to protect it. That's my talk. All right, any questions?
Yes. For some reason, and I've never been able to determine why, the IRA covers solar panels with elective pay, so a congregation can earn that directly, as you pointed out, if they've got the money on to do a capital campaign. But they do not. The IRA also covers geothermal, get the elective pay there, but not heat pumps for some bizarre reason, which I've never been able to determine. Have you looked at having Solar Faithful look at heat pumps so that the 30% can be captured, because it can be captured for personal use and corporate use, but not nonprofit use?
Yeah, certainly. So one of the partners on that slide was a company called Block Power. Block Power is a New York Stock Exchange company based in New York City. Their management is mainly consisting of people of color. So, and they are now affiliated with Solar Faithful, and they will fund these projects. Solar Faithful will actually own them. So, yes, we have thought about that.
Okay. But no PPLs, just or PPAs, I mean.
I didn't hear the question.
Okay, it's just that one thing, if you just put in heat pumps right away, it'll probably increase your energy efficiency, but you go upside down on your costs, because unless you're getting free electric from solar, they're more expensive, or can be.
Yeah, and you're gonna be probably increasing your use of electricity, but you won't be using any natural gas, which
right.
is
Okay, I was just wondering if have you seen any PPAs structured for solar for heat pumps?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
All right, I see Tim has his hand raised.
Hey, thanks. I meant to ask this question earlier to Leah from Michigan Interfaith Power and Light. Since you brought it up, I think you, at one of these meetings we discussed, you were mentioning that there were some Detroit area churches and they're working with Interfaith Power and Light that were looking to do solar and were looking for investors. Is that still an ongoing
Yes,
project?
Tim.
Okay.
Yeah, Tim. Leah spoke about that, and
Okay, I'll check the replay. I wasn't able to join right at the beginning.
there'll be a recording. And
Yeah,
you know, she said the Lord of Lord Ministries Church in Detroit, which the solar system is just about done there. It's partially installed. That was like their pilot program, and they will be looking to do this much more often with churches in low income areas. So, yeah, take a look at the recording.
all right, great, thanks.
All right, any other questions? Yeah, I did want to mention one other exciting development, and you can keep your eyes out for these opportunities. Is as some of you know, Genesis just completed about, I don't know, 4 months ago, a decarbonization plan which called for geothermal, which is, Ed's real interested in, and so are we, because it's the most efficient way to heat and cool your building, and you don't use natural gas. So two big advantages, and you're using energy stored in the earth to cool your building and to heat your building. So it's by far the most efficient way to do it that we currently have. Maybe in the future there'll be better ways, but it's the best. And Genesis doesn't have a lot of grounds. Most of our grounds are taken up by buildings, as you can see from some of those pictures in my presentation. And so we're looking at drilling.
Yep.
But we did talk with the Ann Arbor City Schools. We have Pattengale School, which abuts our back parking lot, and they have a huge soccer field. So I was in conversations with the facility director for the city of Ann Arbor Schools, and he came up with this idea where we would drill geothermal wells near the Genesis property line on the athletic field and have district geothermal, where we would pump water, and both the school and Genesis and the surrounding houses and apartment buildings could tap into that drilled well. And I think it's a great idea, and I look forward to hopefully doing this in the future. I mean, it's such a good idea. I can't see us not doing it. So, and there's another district geothermal system going in Ann Arbor. I forget where it is, but it's on the A20 website if you're interested in district geothermal. All right. Anything else?
No. That sounds
right.
interesting, that geothermal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks everybody for attending. Our
Yep.
next meeting will likely be in January. And if
Mhm.
you have an idea for a speaker, please email me. I'm always looking for ideas on speakers. This was actually, I think, our 10th meeting. Seems like we just started.
Thank you for all your work, Murray.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
Thanks so much, Murray.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.